everyone! Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Micaela Alido Casas, a first-year Bachelor of Secondary major in English student. So, for today's video presentation, I will be discussing the topic phrases and clauses. Phrases and clauses. Yeah. And have you ever read a long sentence and wondered why some groups of words seem to work together while others can actually form a complete sentence? Well, that is what we are going to learn today. In this presentation, we will discuss what phrases and clauses are, their different types, and examples of each type and the difference between them. So, by the end of this presentation, you should be able to identify whether a group of words is a phrase or a clause and understand how they function in sentences. Sorry for the background noise in this video, guys. I hope it's not too distracting. But anyway, without further ado, let's begin our discussion. Let's begin our discussion with the learning objectives. So, learning objectives. So, these objectives will guide our discussion. I won't just define the terms. I will also explain how we can identify them when we encounter them in actual sentences. Let's begin. Why are phrases and clauses important? So, phrases and clauses are important parts of English sentences. They help us organize and express ideas clearly. Understanding them help us construct grammatically correct sentences, and they also understand different sentence structure. So, let's begin with what is phrases. A phrase is basically a group of words that work together, but however, it doesn't normally give us a kind of complete thought by itself. Like, for example, if I say in the classroom, you understand the location, but you might still ask what happened in the classroom. So, we need additional information to complete the idea. That is why a phrase usually becomes only one part of a complete sentence. That is the definition of phrases. These are the examples. Notice, did you notice that these examples don't all have the same function? The tall girl identifies someone. Under the table tells us a location. By the way, this noun phrase, prepositional phrase, adverb phrase will explain in the next slide, guys. So these are the common type of phrases: noun phrases, verb phrases, adjective phrases, adverb phrases, prepositional phrases, and so on. So, first is the noun phrase. A noun phrase is a group of words that function as a noun. So, a noun phrase is a group of words functioning as a noun, the word noun. So, example, the little boy is playing. The easy way to recognize a noun phrase is to ask ourselves if the group of words is performing the job of a noun. In our examples, the little boy, about a new notebook, my best friend loves music. The little boy is the subject. We could replace it with a single noun such as the name John, and the sentence will still make sense. That is why the word the little boy is considered a noun phrase. Second is a verb phrase. Consists of main verb and one of more helping verbs. So, in our example, she is studying. The words, a verb phrase focuses on the action or state of the subject. In the example, the word is studying tells us what the girl is doing. The word as is the helping verb, while the studying is the main verb. Together, they form the verb phrase. Next is an adjective. Next is an adjective phrase. An adjective phrase is a group of words that describes or modifies a noun or a pronoun. So, describes a noun or a pronoun. So, examples, the student eager to learn asks questions. So, in this example, the word eager to learn tell us more about the student. It helps us understand what kind of students we are talking about. The next one, the adverb phrase. The next one is adverb phrase. An adverb phrase is a group of words that modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb. It can tell us how or when, where, or to what extent something happens. So, in the example, he finished his work quite quickly. So, here, quite quickly tells us how he finished his work. So, when identifying an adverb phrase, we can ask a question such as how, when, or where. So, this can help us recognize the function of the phrase. Quite quickly, so nag-tells us how he finished. And the question sa, anong dali rin niya na human ang yang yahang work. So, nag-question tag how, or when, or where, kanas niya na human. So, this can help us recognize the function of the phrase. So, prepositional phrase begins with a preposition and usually end with a noun or a pronoun. So, common present include in or under, over, and so on. So, prepositional phrases are very common in everyday English. We use them when we want to describe relationship involving location, time, direction, or other connections. For example, if I say the bag is under the chair, the phrase under the chair tells us where the bag is. So, next one is the infinitive gerund. How to pronounce it, but anyway. And participle phrases. Sorry for the typo, guys. These three types can sometimes be confusing because they can look similar, but one helpful way to distinguish them is to look at their function. An infinitive phrase usually begins with to plus a verb. To plus a verb. Then the gerund uses an ing form that function as a noun. Participial or participial phrase usually function as an adjective and describe a noun or a pronoun. Now that we understand phrases, let's move on to the clauses. So what is clauses? A clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. So for example, the word students is the subject, while the word are studying is the verb phrase. In the presence of the subject and verb relationship is one of the most important things we should look for when identifying a clause. Let's begin with independent clause. Independent clause has a subject, has a verb, express a complete thought, can stand alone as a sentence. The word independent. So there are examples here. Maria studied. Can stand alone because we already understand the complete idea. We don't need to add another clause or word for the sentence to make it sense. This is the independent clause. Next, the dependent clause. The dependent clause has a subject, has a verb, does not express a complete thought, so cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. There are examples here. Because I was tired when the class ended, although she studied hard. That is the examples of independent. If I simply say because I was tired, it sounds like I haven't finished my thought. So you would probably ask, what happened because you were I was tired because you were tired. So a dependent clause needs an independent clause to complete its meaning. For example, I went home because I was tired. So now the whole sentence makes sense. So that is the dependent clause. So there are three types of clauses. So dependent, there are three types of clauses. Sorry, I changed the lightning, guys. Anyway, let's continue. There are three types of dependent clauses. So, noun, adjective, relative, and adverb clauses. The noun clause is a dependent clause and function as a noun. It can function as a subject, object, complement. So, for example, what she said was true. The word what she said function as the subject. Another example is that I know that he is honest. The word that he is honest function as the subject. So, an adjective clause, also called relative clause, describes or gives more information about a noun or pronoun. So, common relative words include who, whom, whose, which, that, where, or when. So, examples. The girl who won the competition is my friend. The word who won the competition describes the girl. So, you have to remember na lang na the adjective clause equals describe a noun or a pronoun as I said earlier. So, for the next one, adverb clause is a dependent clause that modifies a verb, adjective, or another verb. It can tell us time, reason, condition, contrast, purpose. So, the word because I was sick explains the reason why I stayed home. Nagets niyo? I stayed home because I was sick. So, the word because I was sick explains the reason why I stayed home. So, that is the adverb clause. So, let's move on to the comparing phrases and clauses. This is probably the most important comparison in our lesson. Both are groups of words, but their structures are different. One of the examples is that in the classroom is a phrase because it does not contain a subject and a verb relationship. But the words that students are studying is a clause because it has both subject and a verb. So when you're unsure, look for the subject and a verb that can help you determine whether you are looking at a clause. So let's have a quick activity to check our understanding. I give you a few seconds to identify each one before I reveal the answers. You can pause the video and answer it on your sheet of papers, or you can in your mind. So number 1, under the old tree. The answer is phrase. The number 2, because she was late, is a dependent clause. The number 3, the students are studying. The answer is independent clause. But if you get them all right, then good job. You can answer the 5 and 6. You can answer it on your own lang. Phrases and clauses in sentence, putting them together. A sentence can contain both phrases and clauses. Example: the students in the classroom studied because they had an examination. The word in the classroom is a phrase, and the students in the classroom studied is independent clause, while because they had an examination is a dependent clause. Here we can see that phrases and clauses don't have to operate separately. They can work together in one sentence. So before we end, let's remember the main points. A phrase is a group of related words that function as a unit. A clause contains a subject and a verb. An independent clause expresses a complete thought, while dependent clause needs another clause to complete its meaning. Understanding phrases and clauses allow us to understand how sentences are built and how ideas are connected. So these are the references that I use in preparing my written report and presentation. So I use reliable grammar resources to make sure that the information and examples presented in this report are accurate. And that concludes my presentation about phrases and clauses. Thank you for listening and taking time to watch my presentation. I hope you learned something useful today. Once again, I am Micaela Alido Casas, a first-year Bachelor Secondary Major in English student. Have a great day!